Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
But now there seems to be a sense that perhaps President Trump would be happy with a win, which would only entail an economic deal.
You said there's a sense. Where do you get that sense from?
Well, there's a lot of reporting that.
So there's a lot of fake. All right, any reporting on Cuba that you didn't get from me or the president is a liar. Because they're the only people working on it.
Do you still want regime change?
I'm just warning you guys. All these sources that are pitching you on Cuba don't know jack. Okay, they're not in the mix.
Okay.
I promise you, they don't know what the hell's happening.
Regime change, or would you be okay with an economic deal?
It is the Martha Zoller Show. I love Marco Rubio. I mean, you know what? He's like saying the only people that are working on this are me and the president. So if you're getting your information from anybody besides me and the president, you know, you don't know what's going on. It is the Martha Zoller Show. It's great to be back. I had school board meetings and a couple of other things last week, and I'll be here the full week this week. I'm very excited. We got Secretary of State candidates that are coming up. We also have Chris Carr. He's going to be in town in Gainesville. We're going to be talking with him also. He's running for governor, and so later on in the week, we're going to have the other governor's candidates. So we're kind of in those weeks where we have a little bit of candidates, a little bit of talking, and it should be a great day. I want to recognize all my Vietnam veteran friends. I've been very blessed to be an honorary member of Disabled American Veterans, an honorary member of the Auxiliary for the Vietnam Veterans of America, for the work that I've done for veterans. And yesterday was the day that we remember Vietnam veterans. And I just want to say thank you, guys, to what you did, the fact you achieved your goals, and the politicians let you down. And I am eternally sorry for that. And I am sad that it seems we still have not learned that lesson. Even how many years has it been now? 75 to 51 years later. We have not learned that lesson because we're still making that mistake. I am praying we will not make that mistake as it relates to Iran. But I'm concerned. And Joey Jones, who lost both of his legs in Afghanistan and who is a pundit on Fox News, and he's an independent. As far as, I mean, I think he's a Republican, but what I mean, he has independent viewpoints. He does not spout talking points. And he said yesterday on one of the shows he was on, the best thing that the military needs to hear, the best thing that the American people need to hear, but also the generals and President Trump need to hear. And I want you to hear this.
If you ain't got what it takes to go get the right documentation to show that you're a citizen, if voting doesn't matter any more to you than that, I don't give a damn if you ever vote again, because I don't care what you have to say. And if that's mean or elitist or whatever, I really don't care. And if you're a politician and those are the people you're advocating for, I really hope you lose too. Because if you're going to be in the greatest and most prosperous country in the world, you should want to take part in it and give a little to do it. I mean, what was it, JFK? Don't ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. You can find your birth certificate and go get a free ID to vote. That's what you can do for your country.
So that was the wrong audio, but it's a really good piece of audio, and I'm glad that we're going to do that. Logan, I'm going to send you this other piece of audio, and we'll play that. But I just love what he's doing right now, because he's saying the things that people don't want to say, and he's telling the truth. And you know what? He has the right to tell the truth. He lost 2 legs in Afghanistan. He has had to fight through everything that people have to do to get their lives back in order. And he's gone on, he's married, he's got a family, and he's created a whole new persona for himself. and we ought to cheer him every day. Here's what I meant to play, but the other one was good too. Here we go.
I'm going to say this. I'm very torn on this completely. I'm personally torn on this because I sat beside Pete Hegseth for years on a couch on Fox and Friends when they needed me.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations with him before he was confirmed as Secretary of War. I know what's in his heart, and I know what's in his experience. I've also watched President Trump for more than a decade now be a president who said no new wars, no forever wars, and backed that up, killing Soleimani with a missile, taking out Maduro, Midnight Hammer. The track record is there. Ending ISIS in weeks. All right, so the track record is there. Yeah. And I don't think he's changed. I don't think he's owned by Benjamin Netanyahu. I think there are complexities to this that you're going to get criticized over. But I'm going to say this. President Trump, Pete Hegseth, General Kane, the rest of the generals, if you send our men and women into that country to kill our bad guys, to spill their blood because they deserve it, I don't even have to agree with you on it. Just please do this. Don't nation build. Don't win hearts and minds. Don't spread democracy. Spill the blood of the evil people that deserve to die without our hands tied and without a PR campaign, and get the hell out of there. That's all we have tolerance for. That's all that will work. We won every battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. We lost the war because our politicians don't have a spine. Don't be those people.
We did it again. We did it to the people that fought in Vietnam. We did it to the people that fought in the global war on terror. The only ones we didn't do it to was the first Gulf War, where we had a mission, we went in, we got out, and we had two generals from the Vietnam era that had gone through that and made sure it didn't happen, in Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell. We've got to stop hanging our military out to dry. And we have got to understand that you people, you civilians that are making the decisions, cannot have to do what Joey said. And that is, if we've got to get the bad guys, let us go in there, spill the blood of the bad guys without our hands tied, and get the heck out of there. And that's what we need to do. Let's go to the phones now at 770-535-2911, and let's talk to Chad in Oakwood. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
I just want to say this, point blank. Every ear is listening to me. Our men and women that are brave to keep us free. We have no freedom. Point blank. Without people that served in our military to keep us free, to die and sacrifice all and give all, we have no freedom. Point blank. God bless our veterans. God bless the brave that give it all. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it very much. And, it's true. We're in a tough time right now. There's no doubt about it. We're in a tough time. And we've got to stand up. That's why these elections are important. We're going to have early voting starting very soon, later on in April. And then we're going to also have other elections, the primary on the 19th, the runoff a month later. So we got a lot to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Tim Fleming. He's running for Secretary of State. And those are the candidates that we'll be talking to today. We'll be back.
It's knowledge you won't find anywhere else.
If you walk out of your home on a July day and you can see your breath, you probably didn't brush.
It's Mornings on Main Street with Bill Main. Weekdays on North Georgia's News Talk, WDUN.
Spring into growing season with Farmers Exchange in Cleveland, Georgia, your local headquarters for growing solutions. From custom blended fertilizers and expert crop protection to top quality nursery plants, garden seed, and lawn care products, we've got everything you need to grow with confidence. Come see us at 951 South Main Street in Cleveland, where knowledge meets service and success takes root. White County Farmers Exchange, providing growing solutions since 1928.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen in a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products. And for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I'd been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, high fire danger warning for outdoors prompts Gainesville officials to suspend the issuance of burn permits. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
If you ain't got what it takes to go get the right documentation to show that you're a citizen, if voting doesn't matter any more to you than that, I don't give a damn if you ever vote again, because I don't care what you have to say. And if that's mean or elitist or whatever, I really don't care. And if you're a politician and those are the people you're advocating for, I really hope you lose too.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and that's Joey Jones, who's on Fox News talking about voter ID. And today we're going to be talking to the candidates for the Secretary of State race. And Representative Tim Fleming, he used to be my boss when I worked for Governor Kemp. He's now a legislator and also worked in the Secretary of State's office for a number of years for Governor Kemp, is joining me, and he's running for Secretary of State. Tim, how are you?
Hey, Martha, great. It's good to be with you this morning. Everything's going great. We're finishing up the last few days of legislative session in Atlanta. We'll be in session tomorrow and sine die Thursday, and then we'll be back on the campaign trail full-time traveling the state. But thanks for having me this morning.
So tell us why you're running for Secretary of State.
Well, hey, Martha, just as you said a minute ago, I'm running because experience matters. I served almost 8 years in the Secretary of State's office under then Secretary Kemp. In several roles. I started as the Assistant Elections Director for the state, Chief of Staff, and ultimately was Deputy Secretary of State, where I was responsible for running the day-to-day operations of the agency at that time, which was about a $36 million budget and almost 300 employees statewide. I also served as Chief of Staff to the Governor, Governor Kemp, in the executive branch, and have served the past 4 years in the state legislature and the State House of Representatives, where I've led on issues when it comes to elections integrity and licensure reform. So I am the candidate in the race with the most experience from the Secretary of State's office to the legislature and the executive branch, and that's why I think I'll make the best candidate for Secretary of State, because I don't need on-the-job training. We can get in that office day one and get to work. And there's a lot of issues in that office, and there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up in the Secretary of State's office.
And we'll talk about elections in a minute, but what do you think is the thing people miss about what the Secretary of State's office does?
Well, I'll tell you, as a state legislature, as important as elections are, because Secretary of State is the chief elections official for the state of Georgia under the state constitution, as a legislature, the number one call and complaint I get from constituents and people from across the state is around professional licensing. And I think most of my colleagues who serve in the State House and Senate will tell you that's the number one call they get from constituents. The Secretary of State's office houses the licensing within the office. It licenses over 500,000 Georgians, everybody from plumbers to electricians to nurses to cosmetologists and barbers. And if people aren't able to get their licenses, it's taken weeks and months to get licenses and get renewals. And if we want to remain the number one state to do business in this country, we have to be able to get people in the workforce and get them in the workforce fast. When I served in the Secretary of State's office under Secretary Kemp, we were issuing new licenses within 5 days, and renewals were automatic. So we have to cut the red tape. We have to get government out of the way. My belief, if you want to get a professional license in the state and you meet the criteria that the government outlines for you, you pay your fee, you have nothing in your criminal background that prohibits you from working in that said profession, you should get your license. You shouldn't be having to wait weeks, if not months, to get in the workforce. And these are a lot of small mom and pop businesses and owners who have 2 and 3 employees. And if they don't have that license, they can't work, they can't put food on the table to provide for their families.
So the other, before we get to elections, because we will talk about that, I think the Secretary of State's office has the worst website I've ever seen. It's not user-friendly. It's hard to use whether you're trying to renew your LLC or you're trying to get election information. Why can't we get it right?
Yeah, you're right. I've gotten that call from several people the past week. In fact, my father just called me Friday. It's annual renewal season, so anybody, small business owners, that has a LLC or corporation, you have to renew by April 1. And my dad called and said, Tim, this website is horrible. He said, I don't think I'm a dumb person, but I cannot figure this out. And I have gotten that from more people. It's the basic things. It's the simple things. The website, it needs to be user-friendly. It needs a total revamp. If I'm your next Secretary of State, that's going to be one of the first things we do come day one, the second Monday in January.
And on elections, have an easy way to look at the entire list, okay?
That's right.
And then, obviously I know every single district's got a different ballot, blah, 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 but there ought to be easy ways to navigate that instead of having to click 14 boxes before you get there. And it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. But anyway.
It's extremely frustrating. And look, I feel like I know that website pretty well, and it's hard for me to navigate it now. I don't know what they've done to it, but we've got to clean that up. You're right.
Absolutely. So we got this comment in from a listener, Jeff in Oconee County. He said, it's stunning to realize that the Georgia Senate approved a measure on Friday which would transition us away from electronic touchscreen voting back to hand-marked ballots with a magic marker in Georgia elections. Don't turn voters loose with a marker and a ballot on Election Day. They don't follow instructions. So I know you're in the House and not the Senate, but what's your view on what we need to do to reform elections?
Yeah, so Martha, I appreciate that. As you know, I was back on your show this fall, and last spring, Speaker of the House John Burns asked me to chair a special House committee, a Blue Ribbon Committee on elections procedures and reforms, and we traveled the state talking to voters and citizens and elections directors from the counties and elections experts from across the county. From across the country about where we're going with our elections and what's happening. And there's a lot of things that we've worked on in the legislature this session. There's some things this week that we're bringing to the House floor when it comes to what our next voting system looks like and what changes we're going to make to the electoral process. It's important to know that the next Secretary of State will be issuing an RFP to decide what our next statewide unified voting system looks like and what it is in 2028. I will say when it comes to hand-marked paper ballots, I think there is a growing swell out there that people who want that. Almost 70% of the United States votes on hand-marked paper ballots. And I'm supportive of hand-marked paper ballots with the right procedures and guardrails and guidelines around it. And that's very important. And that's what we've been working on in the House. We have legislation that we're working on that kind of outlines what the next statewide voting system is going to look like and the parameters around that. Just for example, the state of Florida, it's the gold standard for hand-marked paper ballots. They went to hand-marked paper ballots several years ago, and it's working very well, and the voters like it. So, with the right procedures and the right processes, hand-marked paper ballots are not a bad thing, and I'm actually supportive of them.
Yeah, I would have to reserve judgment on that just because, I know all this came out of the 2020 election, right? Right, Tim?
Sure.
And when we went to bed on election night 2020, it was mostly electronic votes that had been counted at that point in time, and Trump was ahead by 3.5 million votes. I don't think the problems were with the electronic machines, but I know that I understand voters want them, but we have to balance what they want and what's best.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, so we're talking about hand-marked paper ballots in a controlled environment in a precinct to me is a lot different than mail-in absentee ballots.
Yes.
And I can tell you from my time in the Secretary of State's office, the fraud is in mail-in absentee ballots. That's where the fraud is. That's what you're referring to, I think, in 2020 was the absentee mail-in ballots. You're absolutely correct. And that's what we got to crack down on is on absentee ballots. It's my belief, we need to rein in who gets absentee ballots. We need to go back to the only way you get absentee ballot is if you're elderly, disabled, or you're military overseas serving us in this country. Those are the people who get the absentee ballots. Other than that, you have ample opportunity to vote. With early voting and election day, you need to make it priority. Now, with hand-marked paper ballots, I think it's two different things from mail-in absentee ballots. You got to remember, your hand-marked paper ballots, you will be voting in a controlled environment in a precinct or early voting location, right? Those are controlled. There's auditing processes in place. There's procedures in place to control those. To me, it's a lot different than the mail-in absentee ballots where you see a majority of the elections fraud is in those mail-in absentee ballots. You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely. So, Tim Fleming, tell folks again, how they can help you and why you're voting and why they should vote for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martha. I appreciate the time. I appreciate your friendship over the years, and we have worked together in several roles.
Yeah, you were my boss. I hated getting calls from you. Anyway.
But no, like I said, I'm running because experience matters. I'm the only qualified candidate in this race that has the experience from the Secretary of State's office to the executive branch to the legislature as well. You can get in touch with me. My website's FlemingForGA.com. You can find me on social media. Appreciate everybody's vote and support. Early voting starts April 27th, and primary election day is Tuesday, May 19th. And I appreciate everybody's vote and support. And thank you so much for your help and friendship, Martha.
You're welcome, Tim. And it's always great to have you on. And you have great experience. And I know the voters will give you a look. Thank you so much for being with us today.
All right. Thanks, Martha. Have a good day.
Thank you. And, we're going to talk to all the candidates. They've all been invited to be on today. We're going to talk to Vernon Jones next, and we're going to keep talking about the issues related to the Secretary of State. It's not just about voting, folks. There's a lot of other work that the Secretary of State's office does, and we've got a lot to consider. We'll be back.
Cancer. One small cell can change everything. Beating it takes something big. Northside Hospital Cancer Institute is built for it. Built for breakthroughs, pioneering clinical research, treatment, and surgical innovation, with the most cancer centers and board-certified oncologists in Georgia. We're built around you, with personalized care from screening through survival. Northside Hospital Cancer Institute, built to beat cancer.
If you're a veteran or surviving spouse who needs help paying for care, you may have heard about the VA pension with aid in attendance. What many families don't realize is how hard it is to qualify and how easy it is to get denied when you try to navigate the VA system on your own. The paperwork is complex, the rules are strict, and one small mistake can delay benefits for months or even years. Hi, I'm Haley Brock, attorney and owner of Kimbrough Law. At Kimbrough Law, we understand the VA system and we know how to guide families through it the right way. We've helped more than 850 veterans and surviving spouses secure the aid and attendance benefits they earned. The benefits are out there, and you don't have to fight this battle alone. The first step is to find out if you or your loved one might be eligible. Kimbrough Law can help. Call 706-850-6910 or visit kimbroughLaw.net to schedule a consultation. That's 706-850-6910 or visit kimbroughLaw.net.
Get breaking news fast. Sign up at accesswdun.com for breaking news alerts via text. Log on to accesswdun.com for details and to sign up. You can also sign up to receive local weather and sports alerts. Get the news first with breaking news text alerts from Access WDUN and North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
News.
News. I'm Therese Crowley. Happy payday. Direct deposit is arriving for TSA agents, unpaid over a month during the political battle over Homeland Security. President Trump says he'll keep paying them as long as it takes from big, beautiful bill money as the Senate holds a pro forma session on House changes to its funding bill. California Republican Young Kim tells
It's
Fox.
frustrating, but I am glad President Trump took actions to pay the hardworking TSA officers, and we must fully fund DHS, especially as we are facing imminent threat from Iran.
President Trump says he has lots of alternatives and options for the Iran war. The Pentagon considering sending 10,000 more troops to join arriving Marines and 82nd Airborne. He tells reporters on Air Force One.
I think we'll make a deal with them, pretty sure. Whether it's possible, we won't. But we've had regime change.
America is listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. An Atlanta-based developer will try again to annex Hall County property into the City of Flowery Branch for a development on Hog Mountain Road. WDUN's Brian Perkle with details.
This is the third attempt on the same Hog Mountain Road property in the past year. The first instance was a Texas-based developer last June. Earlier this year, Atlanta-based High Point Development withdrew their application but are now resubmitting it for Thursday's meeting. This time, they are requesting 75 single-family detached lots.
If you're planning for some yard or brush clearing with a burning permit in Gainesville, those plans are placed on hold by city officials for the immediate future. WDUN's Lawson Smith explains.
As high fire danger conditions continue across North Georgia, the city of Gainesville has suspended burn permits until circumstances improve. Between the low relative humidity, extreme dry fuels, and winds, the conditions have resulted in the U.S. National Weather Service's high fire danger warning for Gainesville, Hall County, along with 40 additional Georgia counties in northern and central Georgia.
And a roadway in Lumpkin County will be blocked to through traffic for much of the morning and afternoon due to maintenance, as Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office says Gibson Road will be closed until 4 p.m. today as crews work to replace a cross drain located in the 200 block near the Dahlonega Funeral Home. More details and more news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Good Monday morning, North Georgia. Mainly cloudy skies, warmer, few peaks of sunshine in there, but highs around 70. We'll take that. Partly to mostly cloudy skies this evening into tonight, upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Claremont, 56 degrees, Auburn, 59, and in Gainesville, 58. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
So it's time to replace your roof. You've seen your neighbor's metal roof and wondered if that's for you. The answer is yes, thanks to Dawsonville Metal Products. Metal roofing from Dawsonville Metal gives you the maximum choices for making your roof look and function its best. It can be installed over your existing roof and can boost your home's value. Let Justin Odom show you the many benefits of metal roofing. Call Dawsonville Metal Products at 706-265-3099 and visit them online at dawsonvillemetal.com.
Some car dealers want to sell you a car. At Hardy Chevrolet, we'd rather help you find the vehicle that's right for you. This is Mike Cormier. We call it the Hardy Chevrolet difference. Since you're the one who will be in the driver's seat of that new Chevy, we think you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to making the selection. It's like Charles Hardy always said,
we love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're talking to Secretary of State candidates today. And joining me right now is former CEO of DeKalb County, Vernon Jones, and he also has run for office before and for other things, and he's running for Secretary of State right now. And we welcome him back to the program. Vernon, how are you?
I'm fine, Martha. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to have an opportunity to share my thoughts with your listeners.
Well, thank you for being here. So first of all, tell folks why you're running for Secretary of State.
Well, I'm running because of what everyone else I see and you see, that the 2020 election had many irregularities and some would say even some fraud. The lack of public trust has eroded, and more people are just concerned that their vote has not been counted accurately and will not be counted accurately, and we want to restore that public trust. That's their constitutional right to be able to vote, and Secretary of State's constitutional authority is to carry out that right for them to be able to vote and make sure that it's free, fair, and transparent. My background, having served 12 years in the state legislature, my background has been the chief executive of a county where I actually had to oversee local elections. I'm the only one to know anything about local elections at the ground level where they all take place in terms of managing that process. But at the same time, I've been in business. I've started a business. I've had to go through the Secretary of State's office. We know how it is with the licensing process over there. I had to oversee, as a county chair or chief executive, issuing license and permits. So I know that process. So I'm uniquely prepared to do that job, to carry out that job. I'm battle tested. Many people know that I was the only one to stood with President Trump going back to 2020 when we had the big election issues in Georgia. I attended and was a part of the first Stop the Steal rally right on up to January 6th in Washington, D.C. I was the only person that was there to stood with the president. And so I think people know that I don't back down and back off, that I stand with them for election integrity, and they know that I am not part of the status quo, part of the establishment, that I would fight for them.
And we're going to talk more about elections, but first, what do you think is the most misunderstood job of the Secretary of State's office and what you'd like to fix?
Well, obviously, that's a very, very important job as it relates to regulating over about 42 different boards. As you know, licensing boards, those are for accountants, pharmacists, funeral directors, cosmetologists. Those are very key professionals, nursing, and it's a nightmare. Since the Secretary of State implemented that new system called GOAL, which is basically a Georgia online application license system, it's been a nightmare. And those who are seeking to get their license or to get their license renewed, they can't reach anybody. No one answers the phone. It's just been a nightmare. That has to be fixed and fixed in a hurry. But also, people understand that Secretary of State's office is a gateway to business, but it has not been promoting small businesses. You just get your license, but the Secretary of State hasn't taken a major role in working with chambers of commerces around the state and working with other types of business organizations to promote businesses. And obviously, clearly, I think more people see the Secretary of State's office as the oversight of elections and to carry out the state laws in terms of how our elections are conducted in Georgia. And clearly, there is a mistrust there, and they're much more in tune now, much more aware of that Secretary of State's office than any other time. And that's why it's so important to restore that public trust and to make sure that office is working in the most efficient and effective way.
Well, my biggest complaint about the Secretary of State's office is that it's the worst website I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's hard to navigate. It's not user-friendly. Is that something that's on your radar?
You know, having been in management, worked in private sector, background in information technology, knowing systems, obviously that website is horrible. But I've been calling now, believe it or not, day 67 business day and not been able to reach a single person on the phone. People want to at least talk to someone at one given or one point of time. Even the board members on those boards, if you call and try to reach those executive directors of those boards, Martha, you can't reach them either, or they bounce you around if you do reach someone. So administrative is not sound, and it's going to take someone that has good executive experience to come in and make that place much more efficient, much more effective. I have the experience as being a chief executive. I've managed over 8,000 employees, over 25 different departments. I know everything from licensing. I know everything from information technology, how to make sure that things work for our customers, providing customer service, having someone that you can talk to, being able to address your issues. And also, Martha, it's an ATM machine. If you go and put your application in and you get one thing wrong, when you do hear from them several months later, you have to go back in and start again. They want to charge you another fee. So it's just not proper. And, you know, to get access to information, be charged for information that should be readily available for people, whether it's voter information or whether it's information on the boards. And again, Martha, try those boards. Try to call. You have the same number for 42 different boards. Try to reach someone. Try to find out when the meeting dates are on those boards. Try to attend those meetings or just get information on the board members. They'll give you the name, but nobody that you can reach out to in terms of email for those board members to escalate issues when you're having issues. It's a nightmare. And my background in management, my background in running a government, and that's important, Martha. I've actually run a government, but I also been in the legislature. So I know how, through executive orders, to address a lot of those issues. But because my background in the legislature, I understand that body, how to work that legislature. And you and I both know that the state legislature make all election laws. The Secretary of State is supposed to execute those election laws. But there are many things that the Secretary of State can do that requires a legislative initiative, and having that relationship with the legislature be actually to be able to actually work with them and to be able to get those legislative agendas addressed and passed so it can address a lot of those issues within the Secretary of State's office. Understanding, too, that the budget appropriations has to come through the Secretary of State's office. Even when they pass, and I hope they do pass and it gets through, going back to paper ballots, it has to be funded. Those measures come through the Appropriations Committee. You can't send down unfunded mandates. And so having that experience like I have really sets me apart from all the other candidates.
So we did get a question from a listener, Rhett, who said, I'd like to have a subscription to the voter roll so I can get it anytime, not have to pay $250 every time. You were alluding to that when you were talking about this information that should be available.
Yes, that's why I call the state has become an ATM. That information should be there, readily available at any time someone can download it. Why are people being charged for voter information? It also kind of concerned me, too, when the Department of Justice has to sue the Secretary of State's office to get data. Why? Most of that data is available anyhow, and if it's about the Social Security number, well, the federal government already has your Social Security number, so to see the restraint and to see how it's like pulling teeth to get information from the Secretary of State's office, it should be user-friendly. That caller should be able to get on his computer and download that information instantly or do a search instantly. Why are we charging for that? Why?
I agree. So help me here, because when we went to bed on the evening of 2020, Election Day 2020, that was mostly electronic votes that were in at that point in time, and the president was ahead by 3.5 million votes. When we woke up, we saw what happened, and it was primarily from mail-in ballots, abuse of absentee ballots, using loopholes in laws, all of the kinds of things that happened that led to the final outcome that we ended up having. But I'm concerned about paper ballots, Vernon. So help me here. Help convince me.
Well, first of all, there is no perfect system, but most people feel comfortable with paper ballots. And I would say this, if you look at the current way our ballots are tabulated, or the type of ballots, you're auditing really an image. Paper ballots, watermark paper ballots, is much better for auditing. Is it a perfect system? No, but I can tell you this. Many people have rejected Dominion. Many states have rejected Dominion because of this process and how it works and how it's utilized. Again, when you have your Secretary of State say that it's a perfect election, that's a problem. There are no perfect elections. You can always continue to strive to make sure that it's harder to cheat and easier to vote. And so there's no one shot in the dark that satisfies this, because people are always trying to break the system. But I can tell you this, Martha, Georgians feel more comfortable. Maybe you don't, but most Georgians I've talked to across this state, they want paper ballots, and they feel like there's much more of an audit tool. And even the experts from some of those who have testified before those election board hearings, they agree that the paper ballots are much more not perfect, but better than what we have.
I mean,
Martha.
and look, I acknowledge I'm in the minority position on this among Republican primary voters. I get it. I just get concerned about that a lot of times people aren't the best at following instructions, whether you're using electronic ballots or your point, it's not perfect, or you're using paper ballots. And I just get concerned about markers and paper ballots and the kind of mayhem that could be caused by that.
Well, Martha, I'll say this. That's why it's important. I keep talking about my background in working at the local level, understanding the local elections. You have to make sure that when you get people, you're getting skilled people, that they're trained and retrained, that you have adequate machines. You have the pollings are evenly distributed in terms of the amount of people voting at a particular precinct to avoid the lines. You want to make sure that you keep and maintain that educational process, keep reemphasizing training, keep checking those machines, making sure they're working right. looking at the various different type of scenarios that could happen that could trigger a problem. For example, that one particular county where there was a person on the ballot. Out of 5 people, she came in last place, but so happened she didn't get a vote in her own precinct, and she and her husband voted for herself. Well, that was a case where when they did a hand count, they actually went back, and she went from last place to winning without a runoff at all. But what happened was one of the people on the ballot withdrew from the elections. Well, that type of scenario should have been tested in advance. What would happen under these circumstances? And so there are a lot of irregularities, even following the chain of custody, even in Fulton County. Why is it Fulton County? They've come out and admitted now that they, through the tabulated process, that they didn't properly sign off on those ballots. The problem is, too, Martha, nobody's been held accountable. We understand there's a human error, but it wasn't like they used, it was a clerical error. That's what your lawyers tell you to tell people so you won't say you screwed up. Some people, or many people, or there are some that has to this day have not been held accountable. And people want, this may sound kind of harsh. Some people need to go to jail because things that have happened in this county and in this state, in several counties, I should say, that's really criminal, and no one has been held accountable. And that is what people are expecting because they want to protect their votes. And I agree with them, Martha. We have to hold people accountable in these elections, or else we'll have a kangaroo election like we've had recently.
So we're talking to Vernon Jones. He's running for Secretary of State. Tell folks why they should vote for you.
They should vote for me because I have experience in the legislature. I have experience as the chief executive, a chief administrator. I can work with both in the legislature and carry out executive orders. I'm the only one that actually oversaw and worked with local elections. I know how they work. I know how it gets rolled up to the Secretary of State's office. And more importantly, when nobody else was standing up for election integrity in this race, I was there from day one with President Trump and others who were saying, to the top of our lungs, we have a problem here. And the nerve for people who were literally contesting the election had to be indicted by Fani Willis because they were saying there were election problems. I would not stand for those types of activities where people are sought after to be locked up just because they want to let people know that they felt uncomfortable with the elections. We've got to take that out of it.
And Vernon, give them your website because we're running up against
my
time.
My website is Vernon Jones. SOS2026.com. That's Vernon Jones, SOS2026.com. I appreciate everyone's consideration. I want them to know, Martha, I will fight for them like I've always fought for voters of Georgia.
Thanks, and we look forward to seeing you next time you come to Gainesville.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a break.
It's your daily civics lesson.
It's mentioned in the Constitution. The feds have final say over it, and immigration is one of those things mentioned in the Constitution.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, weekdays at 9 on North Georgia's News Talk, WDUN.
Have you been driving 25 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone? Are your passengers concerned about your vision? Don't let glare at night or in the rain slow you down. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK, clear lens exchange, specialty lenses with laser cataract surgery, as well as contacts and designer glasses. Our doctors handle a wide variety of vision problems for people of all ages and are skilled at providing fantastic solutions. Come see why we're voted best in Hall County year after year. Advanced Eye Center, vision correction for all ages.
250 years of America, built one town, one voice, one unforgettable mile at a time. This year, as our nation celebrates its 250th birthday, Travel with Anita brings those stories to life with Quarter Miles Travel. We're sharing the places where history still breathes, communities that shape the country, and landscapes that remind us of who we are. But these aren't just stories to hear. They're places you can go, roads you can travel, experiences you can step into. Quarter Miles Travel connects you to real destinations, real people, and real journeys waiting for you. Listen to us on air, online, and wherever you get your podcasts. Then visit travelwithanita.com for itineraries, travel ideas, and places where your next story begins. The adventure starts when you reach into your pocket.
Attention, Antifa, human traffickers, cartels, and woke DAs. With Chris Carr as governor, you won't stand a chance.
I'm Chris Carr. In Georgia, we will prosecute you. It's easy for politicians to talk tough, but I'm the only Republican who put gangs, human traffickers, and Antifa behind bars. I even fought Obama, Biden, and Abrams in court and won. If you're attacking our police or our freedoms, I'll be your worst nightmare.
Chris Carr doesn't just talk tough. Carr had the courage, brought the cases, and locked up the criminals. He has more than 120 gang convictions. Over 200 human trafficking victims have been rescued and seized enough fentanyl to kill 3.5 million Georgians. Carr's taking on the woke left, making crime illegal again. As governor, Chris Carr will keep up the fight and never back down. Chris Carr, governor. Real fights, real wins, real conservative. Paid for by Carr for Georgia.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, the Smith Gall Arts Center in Gainesville is preparing to kick off its 2026 Summer Music Series. Details at Access WDUN. And coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we invited Ted Metz in this segment, but he did not call in, but that's okay. We will invite every candidate on that has a contested race between now and the election. Later on in the week, we are going to talk to Rich McCormick because we hadn't talked to him in a while, and it will be, he does not have a contested race, but it does represent part of Hall County, so we try to be fair about all of those kind of things. I got myself in a little bit of hot water on the Georgia gang, which I love, actually, that I'm going to just talk with y'all about for a minute. I did not name names because I don't do that unless, first of all, I don't reveal my sources if they've told me to be off the record or that their background. And secondly, I don't name names because it's not necessary. And I'm not going to produce my text messages to prove anything, okay? Because those are private. But I made a statement in the Georgia gang that, I think, and in the whole context of it, there was a lot of unsettling after Rick Jackson got into the race for governor. And you can't deny that. If you deny that, I have a different candidate in that race. But if you deny that he turned everything upside down, you are living in a dream world. And for 3 or 4 weeks, I think the Jones campaign has gotten their feet back on the ground. And I said this on the Georgia gang on Sunday. But for the first few weeks, they were off kilter because they didn't think they were going to have any competition in this race. And all of a sudden, they were having to be on defense instead of offense. And they weren't very good for a while. And they had people that were either staff members or high-up supporters of Burt Jones that were sending text messages to people. The New York Times has a bunch of them. I'm not sharing mine, but other people shared theirs. I was asked by the New York Times to share mine, but I'm not sharing mine because I value the privacy that people give me. I value the relationships that I have with people, so I'm not going to blow people up, okay? But the New York Times has a bunch of text messages that came out of the Burt Jones campaign and either supporters of his or staff of his that were threatening people that had pictures made with Rick Jackson. Okay, so I said that on the Georgia gang in very general terms, but the question was about the debate, Jones asking for a debate. And the bottom line is you can argue with me if you're a Burt Jones supporter because they're the ones that get the maddest because they thought they were going to skate into this without anybody giving them a hard time. If you were the one asking for a debate, you probably think you're behind. Okay? That's the way it is because if you're way ahead, you don't debate. And I hate to use a bad example like Herschel Walker, but during his primary, he didn't debate because he was 40-some points ahead, and the only way he could go was down. And that's what we learned about him is that once he started being paired up against somebody, they were going to be down. I've also heard a lot of Chamber of Commerces around this area say they were told by the Jones campaign that they weren't going to be on the stage with Chris Carr. Okay? And now he's asking for a debate. Okay, so again, I'm not going to name names of the staff people, but I will give you, and I said this on the Georgia Gang also, so I'm sorry I'm repeating myself. I will give you a piece of information or advice that usually people pay me for and pay me well for, okay? If you are a candidate and you are approving things with your name on them, no one will ever know the name of your consultant. They will only know your name. So if it's not you, don't approve it. I also tell people never answer comments on social media. Just let them scroll down. Don't get into a fight with anybody. Okay? And since I guess I'm getting to the end of my career, I don't mind giving this advice away for free because eventually it won't matter. But, you know, just people, if you're working for a candidate, I know you love them. But we're all going to be back on the same team again after the primary, or we should be. So don't say things you can't recover from. And look, it sounds like I'm giving Republicans a hard time. I've been going, it should be back and forth with Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock. They have called me once or twice. And Senator Warnock, it's so funny. He called me very nicely a couple of weeks ago. And then I looked at the video of what he said over the weekend at the No Kings rallies. Total disconnect between the two different kinds of people there are. I'm the same wherever I go. Okay, I'm the same wherever I go. If I say something in private, it sounds like what I said in public. And if I'm in front of a crowd, I don't turn into this being or whatever it was that Senator Warnock was trying to do on Saturday. But let me just tell you how ridiculous the No Kings rallies were. And this kind of ties up. We have an elected president that won the popular vote and the Electoral College, who is doing what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. May not like it, may not agree with it, maybe you didn't vote for it. But it's not anything kingly that's going on. And you protested all across America. And as far as I could tell, nobody got arrested for protesting. Maybe they did something they weren't supposed to do. And you're saying you're losing free speech and you're losing your rights and it's a king, while you're waving a communist sickle flag and the flag of a country that has a despot, Iran. People, you're not consistent and you don't make sense. And you can sit in your little corner and be mad at everybody every minute of the day, but you're not telling the truth. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk to Gabriel Sterling. He's the next in our line of candidates for Secretary of State. We'll be back.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN-FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
A deal or obliteration?
I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump says he expects a deal with Iran soon to end the U.S.-Israel military operation there, or he's threatening to destroy energy infrastructure. Fox's Trey Yingst reports.
President Trump took to Truth Social to give an update about the situation. He said if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalination plants, which we have purposely not yet touched. Reports indicate the president is considering a limited ground operation inside of Iran.
Meantime, oil prices are up about 2% over yesterday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the global market is well supplied and more boats are getting through the Strait of Hormuz.
Over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort.
He was on Fox and Friends. A 7-month manhunt for a suspected cop killer in Australia is over.
Well-known conspiracy theorist Desi Freeman shot dead 2 police officers last August before fleeing into dense bushland. Despite intensive searches, the 56-year-old seemed to have vanished. But then, after an hours-long standoff at a rural property in Victoria State, the manhunt came to a violent end.
There was an opportunity for him to surrender peacefully, which he did not.
Police Chief Commissioner Mike Bush. State Premier Jacinta Allen added, "Today an evil man is dead." Investigators believe Freeman was helped while on the run, and detectives will now focus on finding his accomplices. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Supreme Court this hour. Here's a case about crimes being charged where they aren't actually committed. Wednesday is President Trump's birthright citizenship challenge. It's one of the biggest cases of the term. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
WDUN. From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. An Atlanta-based developer will try again to annex Hall County property into the city of Flowery Branch for development on Hog Mountain Road. WDUN's Lawson Smith with details.
This is the third attempt of the same Hog Mountain Road property in the last year. The first instance was a Houston, Texas-based developer in June of last year. In February of this year, Atlanta-based High Point Development withdrew their application but are now resubmitting it for Thursday's meeting. This time they are requesting 75 single-family detached lots.
Hall County delegates are starting to get their bills cleared from the legislature and to Governor Brian Kemp's desk this week, with WDUN's William Daughtry reporting.
So far, 50 bills by the 9 members of Hall County's delegation at the Gold Dome have passed both chambers with sine die on Thursday. Senate bills getting House approval include the bill lifting the state's limit on THC content in medical marijuana, plus allowing THC vapes for medical use, and a bill establishing the criminal offense of digital identity fraud. House bills getting Senate approval include a bill requiring all public universities to detail all funds received by foreign adversaries, and a bill that increases the mandatory minimums on fentanyl possession.
Just over a week after Georgia's gas tax was suspended, the state attorney general is threatening to investigate stations who do not pass the savings along to consumers. WDUN's Caleb Hutchins explains.
Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr issued a statement Saturday saying his office will investigate any station not passing along the gas tax suspension. With prices high amid the conflict in Iran, the Georgia gas tax suspension is expected to lower prices by an estimated 30 cents per gallon for at least the next 2 months. Carr, who is also running for Georgia governor as a Republican, said any gas station not passing along those savings at the pump could be found guilty of an unfair or deceptive act under Georgia law, saying now is not the time to play games with Georgia consumers.
And the high fire danger warning for outdoors has prompted officials with the city of Gainesville to suspend the issuance of burn permits. Social media posts by the city confirming over the past weekend that burn permits have been suspended until circumstances improve. Over 40 counties in northern Georgia and in areas surrounding the region have been placed under a National Weather Service high fire danger warning, with low humidity and dry outdoor vegetation increasing the risk of brush and wildfires. More news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN forecast.
Mainly cloudy skies, warmer, a few peaks of sunshine in there, but highs around 70. Partly to mostly cloudy skies this evening into tonight, upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Blairsville, 56 degrees. In Winder, 60. And in Gainesville, 59. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Spring into growing season with Farmers Exchange in Cleveland, Georgia.
your local headquarters for growing solutions. From custom blended fertilizers and expert crop protection to top quality nursery plants, garden seed, and lawn care products, we've got everything you need to grow with confidence. Come see us at 951 South Main Street in Cleveland, where knowledge meets service and success takes root. White County Farmers Exchange, providing growing solutions since 1928.
March is here, Georgia, and that means it's time to bring your lawn back to life. Get over to Howard Brothers and find your Walker mower to make that happen. Designed for complete control and a beautiful finish to the lawn, Walker makes spring work feel effortless. From the pros to homeowners, you can take pride in the work your Walker mower does. So, ready to upgrade your cut? Head to Howard Brothers and experience the Walker difference for yourself.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and joining me now is Gabriel Sterling. He works in the Secretary of State's office. He is the face you saw all through the 2020 election, and he is now running for Secretary of State. Gabe, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Martha. And in fairness, I had to leave the Secretary of State's office to run for Secretary of State. It's state law.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That is such a weird thing.
Well, the funny part was Kathy Cox did it when she ran. She was the deputy secretary, and she used her leave time and everything. And Sonny Perdue did not like Kathy Cox. So as soon as he got to the point where he changed the law so that people could never do that again.
Oh, that's so crazy because, here in our local area, we have an ADA running against the district attorney. Mm-hmm. And, the way I look at it, the people elected you to whatever office. It's not your office. Mm-hmm. And so if one of the people that work for you end up running against you, I don't think they should have to lose their job, but that's not the law. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, just seems unfair to me. But anyway, so tell us why you're running for Secretary of State.
Well, the biggest reason is Georgia literally has one of the best voting systems in America. Despite what you might see on social media, we have...
And a different message from all your other opponents.
Well, listen, I'll take those 90% of conservative voters in 2025 who were polled in January said that they like the system and trust the system, and they can keep the 9.5% of the others. So if I can get the 90%, I feel pretty good about where we're at. But the thing is, it's good to rail against things. It really gets people ginned up. And let's face it, there's a core within our party that is just it's their shibboleth. At the end of the day, you're never going to convince them that these things weren't stolen. But let's go beyond 2020. 2024, everybody had a good voting experience. 98% of Georgians did. 90% of conservatives trusted the outcome. We have one of the most secure, transparent, and easy systems in America. We are tied for number one in election administration. Heritage Foundation has had us in the top 5 for security for 7 years running. I mean, it's really hard to run against the record unless you lie about the record.
So what do you think, and we'll talk more about the election part, but what do you think is the most misunderstood portion of the Secretary of State's office, separating out elections, all the other jobs that you do? Because a lot of people don't know.
Well, let's go over all of it. I mean, one of the biggest things we do that people are learning more about now is we regulate securities in Georgia. So as you've seen recently, there was that Ponzi scheme down in Noonan with First Liberty Building and Loan, and it was a criminal enterprise. And some of my opponents said, well, you might not agree with the business practices. I'm like, that's not a business practice. That's a crime. So we run the securities on that one. So we've been investigating. We found $140 million, over 500 victims. And we're working with the receiver to get that money back and working with some of the other. We've put fines on 3 different individuals for $500,000. One confessed. The other ones have basically said it's not us, but they were all part of the conspiracy. But the evidence shows that so far. It'll go to court probably. We've heard 3 of them for criminal prosecution.
And we've talked about this before. We need a new website at the Secretary of State's office. Is
that
a top priority for you?
One section. We updated it a lot, and there's different systems that run through the website. The interface, I'm not a huge fan of in a couple of places.
Yeah, the one-click LLC is great. Mm-hmm. That thing is great.
Yeah, we can do that one. And then the licensing now has gotten a lot better. In fact, when we came into office, as just an example, it was 48 days to do a nursing license. Then we got it down to 10. Then our team came back and says, we can do better. So now we got it down to 6. And part of the problem with all these licensing, that's another big thing that we do. We license almost 600 issue 600,000 licenses for things from geologists to librarians for some reason, nurses, cosmetologists, people who do your nails. We had to regulate those, and we issue those licenses, but we made it a lot easier now and much more secure. And this is part of making a good business environment. Like you said, the one-click LLC. We have hundreds of thousands of people, and part of the reason that we are the number one state to do business is because we make it easy to do it. That's an important goal.
So we got a question in from Greg in Pendergrass that said, why can't we have some kind of receipt system? Why can't you log into a website to make sure who I voted for is really who I voted for? We have websites for everything else these days. Not comfortable with the trust system with no receipt.
Well, if you had a receipt, you could take that receipt to somebody and say, hey, pay me for my vote. And that's one of the biggest reasons we have that. And the secret ballot is also in the Constitution of the state of Georgia. So even if we wanted to do that, it would be unconstitutional. And like I said, buying votes was a real thing. You have to have laws to not allow for those kind of things. And it can be intimidation. If your boss says you're voting for somebody, you got to show me that receipt that you did. So while I understand part of that, we now have 2 different audits that show the outcomes of the election was correct. The second audit we do goes through and says what was counted was exactly what was on those ballots that were submitted. And when we did that 2 years ago, it was 100% accurate, except on the hand-marked paper ballots, where it was 87 different ballots that were misinterpreted by the individuals who looked at them.
So what changes, if any, do you want to make to elections?
Well, some of the biggest things we want to do is it's more of a ethos around elections. One of the things I always told our people is we will never stop building our elections system because the threats will change. The dynamics will change. We listen to the counties. We launched a brand new voter registration system called Jarvis, the Georgia Registered Voter Information System, which we did actually name after the Marvel movie because we have a bunch of data nerds in there who are building it. We work with the counties constantly. We had 20 counties in there helping us build it, and we had 20 counties in there testing it afterwards who were not part of the build. And what they said, when will you be done with it? We'll never be done with it because we're always improving, always measuring. One of the big things, we got rid of lines. We are a state that uses, even though we have no excuse absentee, very low usage of it, so it's much more secure. People in Georgia just like voting in person. We have the number of early voting days in place. The main thing is to make sure counties are doing their jobs and setting them up for success. And when the system around us changes, when there's new threats, like we're now at war with Iran, and in 2024, there was attempts, we think, from Iran and potentially China to try to infiltrate our system, and we stopped them. So we always have to be looking to upgrade our systems to defend against those kind of foreign threats and even domestic actors who want to cause problems.
So there were foreign threats to the Georgia system of voting?
It was on Channel 2, WSB. We had an exclusive with them that they came in and they showed there was a denial of service attack, DDoS, where basically hundreds of thousands of bots were attacking the system at one time, trying to go through the absentee ballot portal and just basically break through. Now, they wouldn't have gotten anything. That's just literally like filling out a piece of paper that would then get passed on. So it wouldn't have done anything, but they are always probing. They were sitting in the Indiana system for 3 months. And that was in 2016 when they did that, or 2018, and that was the Russians.
So I know that a lot of people in certain sectors of the voters don't like that system. I think it's called ERIC, where we communicate with other states about registration. But one of the things I think, we are like one of the fastest growing states in the country, which means a lot of people, more people are moving in, but some people move out. And why isn't there some sort of system? And what would it take to where if I registered to vote in Georgia, but I also have a registration in Colorado, why wouldn't that automatically be canceled?
Because the National Voter Registration Act does not let you do that.
Okay.
But ERIC is a really good example of all of my opponents want to do things to make voting less safe, even though they say they want to make it safer. By leaving ERIC, we will lose the only tool we have for finding double voters right now, because there's no other way to do it other than ERIC. We have set up several one-to-one exchanges with different states who are not in ERIC, but that is a lot less efficient. When Texas withdrew and started doing it on their own, they went from 2 data people to hiring nearly 100 to try to do this. So it's a lot more expensive, a lot more difficult, and the data matching isn't as good. So we've referred, I think, dozens and dozens of the double voters we found. And I think there was one prosecution that some DA finally did in Forsyth County, and they got a guy who voted in Arizona and in Georgia in 2020 and in 2022. So he absolutely knew what he was doing.
So how can people help you, and why should they vote for you?
Listen, I'm the most experienced. I've been fighting for Republican values and conservative values in the state since 1986. I was on the Mac-Magnolia campaign as a volunteer. In 1990, I helped run a recall against the Fulton County Commission chairman. I helped make a lot of these new cities around Georgia to help bring local control and keep taxes low. So, I mean, when I was at Sandy Springs, we put a tax cap. The only way you can raise taxes at Sandy Springs is with a vote of the people. I'm going to make sure we have an efficient, well-run system that the people can trust, regardless of the noise, and I stand to anybody. I mean, I beat Stacey Abrams in court. I was the last person on the stand, and we won with a Obama-appointed judge. I took on the Joe Biden Justice Department when he sued us over the Election Integrity Act, which was written in our office. Nobody's fought harder for election integrity. If President Trump wants secure elections, I'm the only one who's been delivering them and will do the work to deliver them, regardless of the noise.
Gabriel Sterling, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a break.
All the updates on the way home.
Afternoons move faster with the essential updates you need.
Your show is just so informative.
It's The Drive at 5, weekdays on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hey, Daddy, what's in a crawl space?
That's a good question, Annie. I'm Cody Lovin with Crawl Space Medic. Musty smells, dampness, and sagging insulation means your crawl space or basement might need some attention. Our team quickly finds and fixes moisture problems, updates moisture barriers, and resolves structural issues, ensuring your home stays dry and comfortable. Don't let your crawl space problems affect your comfort, air quality, or property value. Visit crawlspacemedic.com.
A healthy home starts from the ground up.
Ready to refresh your garden? Head to Full Bloom Nursery in Claremont. This is Julie, and spring is our favorite season, and right now our greenhouses are overflowing with vibrant annuals, lush hanging baskets, and homegrown vegetables and herbs. With 5 acres of plants to choose from, we're proud to be the largest retail nursery in the area. Whether you're planting a few pots or transforming your whole yard, we've got you covered. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and Saturday from 9 to 2. Visit fullbloomnursery.com for more info and follow us on Facebook to see what's growing.
This Easter season, join Free Chapel as we celebrate the sacrifice and the resurrection of our Savior. We're starting off on March 29th with our Palm Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. Then our special Good Friday services are on April 3rd at noon and 6 p.m. And join us for our Family Day on Saturday, April 4th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our Gainesville campus. And finally, Sunday, April 5th, our annual Easter services are 9 and 11 a.m. with worship and a powerful message from Pastor Jensen Franklin. For details and campus locations, visit freechapel.org.
I'm Rick Jackson. My dad abandoned us. My mom was an alcoholic, so I left the projects. Shoe shining, ticket scalping, vacuum sales. I found purpose in work and built a $3 billion business. Like President Trump, I don't owe anybody anything. And like you, I'm sick of career politicians. I'm running for governor to lead America in criminal deportations, to cut income taxes in half, freeze our insane property taxes, reform the system so that anyone who can work will work, and not just sit around binge-watching Netflix and eating Cheetos. I'll let law enforcement do their job. And if you're caught helping a child change their sex, you're going to jail. I'm Rick Jackson, and I'll get these done. Paid for by Jackson for Governor, Inc.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, for the third time in a year, a developer will try to annex Hall County property into the city of Flowery Branch. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and joining me right now is Kelvin King. He is a longtime activist in the Republican Party. He ran for the United States Senate, and now he's running for Secretary of State. And we've talked to him before about that race, but we're happy to welcome back. Welcome, Kelvin. How are you?
Hey, I'm awesome. Good morning, Martha. Great to be here with you.
Thank you so much. So tell folks why you're running for Secretary of State.
Well, I'm running for Secretary of State, Martha, because that office needs new leadership. I mean, clearly, I think every Georgian would agree with you who's listening that there's a very little trust in the Secretary of State's office right now. So we've got to reestablish that trust. And I'm the only candidate who is able to do it, that has a background that could do it, that has a track record that can do it. I'm Georgia born and raised. I'm an Air Force Academy graduate. I was an all-conference football player at the Air Force Academy as well, Division I athlete. I'm a proud Air Force veteran. My job was procurement. I was a contracting officer in the Air Force. So I know government procurement very well, and I know how to utilize government funds in a responsible manner. We need that in this office.
So before
I also had
go
success in
ahead.
corporate America.
Yes.
I had success in corporate America. I won awards. I was in industry magazines and construction. I felt so good about myself that I decided to start my own construction company. So, yeah, I have a piece of my American dream. I started my company from scratch 13 years ago, and I'm a licensed general contractor here in Georgia. So I worked with the Secretary's office through my licensing process. So there's no better candidate to step into this role. And when I saw what was going on in the insides, the inner workings of the Secretary of State's office through the State Elections Board, I knew I had to do something, Martha, and I'm the only candidate that can.
So before we talk about elections, there's a lot of other things the Secretary of State's office does. What do you think is the most important thing they do other than elections?
Oh, other than elections, I think that the responsibilities around licensing and securities. I mean, first of all, we want to be the number one state to do business in. We always tout that. But we're actually the bottom 4 state when it comes to bureaucracy, when it comes to red tape, when it comes to getting answers and getting your questions answered from the Secretary of State's office. We've got to create a customer-friendly, a business-friendly environment with the Secretary of State. And I know how to do that because I'm the only candidate that has started a business and has employees, that understands payroll and has W-2 employees and that sort of thing. And now, when it comes to making a living through the licensing, you know, once you work hard and you make a living and you want to save up money for your retirement and your future, that's also a role of the Secretary of State's office as well, and that is to regulate our securities. That means that companies that say, hey, listen, I'll take your money, I'll invest it for you, and I'll give you a return, those companies have to be regulated and watched over. And we know that there was a debacle last summer with a building and loans company that went defunct. And what happened, lots of Georgians lost money. But the worst part of it, Martha, is that the Secretary of State's office didn't do their job. They had not reviewed that company's license in over 10 years. Now, you can't be an agency that regulates and not regulate the companies that are hurting the citizens of Georgia. So, those are the 2 areas I'm going to focus on in addition to elections.
So I think the website is the worst website I've ever had to deal with. Now, the one click for your click for the LLC renewal, that's good. Okay, but other than that, it's really hard to navigate. Is that something that's on your radar?
Oh, man, yeah. When I announced the run, I was reached out to and contacted by lots of businesses. See, I have over 300 companies that are under my master agreement in my general contracting firm. So lots of people reached out to me, and they complained about how they can't find the information they need through the website, how people aren't returning their phone calls, how they can't get a human. And I have a solution. I'm the only candidate with a solution. I'm going to create industry liaisons, meaning there's going to be someone who answers the phone and gets back to you that is familiar with your industry. For my industry, it'll be infrastructure. They're not going to give you advice. They're not attorneys, but they can help hold your hand to navigate some of these tricks and some of these difficult steps in our Secretary of State's office, because we've got to make it easier to do business. Business is hard. We're not going to make it harder through the Secretary of State's office by putting up roadblocks and having people jump through hoops.
And so let's talk a little bit about elections. What are your goals as Secretary of State? Obviously, you know, you don't make the laws, but you have to enforce the law. So what do you see about elections?
Oh, I see that we need new leadership. I mean, the bottom line is this office needs a ground-up change, meaning we got to change leadership and change the core values in this office. Under a King administration, the Secretary of State's office will utilize certain core values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Those are our Air Force Corps areas, by the way, but I'm going to implement that into the Secretary of State's office. That is a foundation. From that point on, we're going to build. We're going to create a hand-marked paper ballot voting system because it's already allowed, which I have no idea why the QR codes have not been removed yet off of our ballots when our legislature was told, actually passed a law to remove our QR codes by this summer. So what's lacking is a will to do what's right. We need new leadership. As a Secretary of State, I will implement hand-marked paper ballots. I will make sure that every voter vote counts. And this is the biggest thing right here, Martha. We currently don't follow Georgia code. When we go in and we check in at the poll pad with our ID and we get that little card and we take it over to the scanner and we stick it, to the printer, the touch screen, and our ballot pops up and we select who we want. And then our ballot comes out when we say print ballot. But that ballot that prints out, it has a QR code and it has the text of your selections. And the poll worker says, check it to make sure that your selections are accurate. And what you check is the text. But when you slide it into the scanner, like you're told, and it clicks, that scanner reads the QR code. And there's no human that I know that could verify a QR code. So we currently have broken our chain of custody, meaning the individual voter cannot be certain that their vote, their intent has been casted and has been tabulated. The only way to do that is to remove the QR code. And right now, under our system, we've got to utilize hand-marked paper ballots to do that. So I just want to follow the law under a King administration. And I don't know why our legislators and these career politicians have not done it yet when it's clear in the law. That's a question that I have. And I think all voters and all Georgians need to put pressure on our legislation and also look at someone like me who will lead by an example.
You know, I've heard all the way back to Karen Handel from Secretary of States and from legislatures that there is a kind of a crusty relationship with the funding and how the law goes. And so the legislature's job is to fund the Secretary of State's office. Would you have a better relationship with the legislature that previous Secretary of States have not had? Because it seems to be an ongoing problem, the funding.
I think so. I mean, I think I know how to put pressure on legislatures. I know how to get things done. I'm the only candidate that's a real executive, that's delivered value, that has a track record of success. And you get success by pressing, not just saying, hey, I would like to do something and have your fingers crossed and hoping it gets done. That's not how it works. If the legislature says, hey, we want to get rid of hand-marked paper ballots and they don't fund it properly, what I'm going to do, Martha, is I'm going to look at my Dominion contract. I see that this thing was a $100 million contract over 10 years. It was signed in 2019. It expires in 2029. So what I will say is, hey, Dominion, if you can't get rid of hand-marked paper ballots and we count the voters' intent on paper, what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate the last 2 years of this contract. It's about $10 million a year, right? And I'm going to make sure that we can fund what the legislature has pushed us to do, and that is get rid of the QR code by other means.
Absolutely.
Because I don't need Dominion. I don't need Dominion if we're going to do hand-marked paper ballots, so I can save that money, that remaining $20 million on that contract, and fund the efforts that the legislature put in front of us. So you got to just have the means and the will and a good focus when it comes to wanting to achieve these goals.
And Kelvin, quickly give folks the website.
Yeah, go to kelvinking.com. That's KELVINKING. Follow us. I have a plan for elections, I have a plan for businesses, and I have a plan for security. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Kelvin King. He is a great Georgian. We're going to keep talking with folks. Chris Carr, our Attorney General, is next. He's also running for governor. We'll be back.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
2 words. Prostate exam. Did your butt just clench? Relax. Screening starts with a simple, finger-free blood test. Around 1 in 8 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. But don't clench. Prostate cancer can have over a 99% 5-year relative survival rate when caught at a localized or regional stage. If you're 40 or older and have a prostate, visit RelaxIt'sABloodTest.com to see if a PSA blood test is right for you. Talk to your doctor about screening and next steps. Sponsored by Novartis.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Get breaking news fast. Sign up at accesswdun.com for breaking news alerts via text. Log on to accesswdun.com for details and to sign up. You can also sign up to receive local weather and sports alerts. Get the news first with breaking news text alerts from Access WDUN and North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
News. I'm CJ Papa. President Trump delivers an update about the conflict in Iran on Truth Social.
He said, quote, the United States of America is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran.
It's Fox's Trinks in Tel Aviv. The president threatens Iran with more destruction if it does not open the Strait of Hormuz. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Fox and Friends says the U.S. is going to take control of the waterway.
There will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort.
Some frustrated federal workers seeing some green in their bank accounts again.
We've spoke with several TSA workers who tell us they are already seeing money in their accounts.
Fox's Madison Crispino at the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport in Atlanta. The DHS shut down now 45 days. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. An Atlanta-based developer will try again to annex Hall County property into the city of Flowery Branch for a development on Hog Mountain Road. WDUN's Brian Perkle with details.
This is the third attempt on the same Hog Mountain Road property in the past year. The first instance was a Texas-based developer last June. Earlier this year, Atlanta-based High Point Development withdrew their application but are now resubmitting it for Thursday's meeting. This time, they are requesting 75 single-family detached lots.
If you're planning for some yard or brush clearing with a burning permit in Gainesville, those plans are placed on hold by city officials for the immediate future. WDUN's Lawson Smith explains.
As high fire danger conditions continue across North Georgia, the city of Gainesville has suspended burn permits until circumstances improve. Between the low relative humidity, extreme dry fuels, and winds, the conditions have resulted in the U.S. National Weather Service's high fire danger warning for Gainesville-Hall County, along with 40 additional Georgia counties in northern and central Georgia.
And a roadway in Lumpkin County will be blocked to through traffic for much of the morning and afternoon due to maintenance. As Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office says, Gibson Road will be closed until 4 p.m. today as crews work to replace a cross drain located in the 200 block near the Dahlonega Funeral Home. More details and more news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Good Monday morning, North Georgia. Mainly cloudy skies, warmer, a few peaks of sunshine in there, but highs around 70. We'll take that. Partly to mostly cloudy skies this evening into tonight. Upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Claremont, 56 degrees, Auburn, 59, and in Gainesville, 58. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
When you have a problem with your roof, you want someone who can respond quickly, but also who knows roofing. That's what you get at Georgia Select Roofing. This is Chris Earls, and we do roofing right. Estimates are free, we can help you navigate your insurance claim, and we also offer financing. Check out our Google reviews and you'll see that Georgia Select Roofing offers the best service around. See us today at georgiaselectroofing.com or call us at 678-316-6899. Family owned and operated, Georgia Select Roofing has you covered.
Did you know that one of Georgia's 9 regional food banks is located right here in Hall County? The Georgia Mountain Food Bank collects and warehouses donated food and distributes it to more than 65 feeding partners and meal serve sites across our 5-county service area of Hall, Dawson, Lumpkin, Union, and Forsyth counties. Learn more about our mission and how you can make sure that people in our community have the food they need to thrive. Visit gmfb.org.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Look at what happened in New York City. No disrespect, but do we really think that Zoller Mamdani was the most qualified candidate to be mayor of New York City? Come on now, we know better. I'm wishing him well. I'm not being disrespectful. He's smart, he's sharp, he's quick on his feet. I'm not disrespecting him in any way. But he had never done anything. You got a governor, a former governor, who was a 3-term governor, coasting to his fork before the scandal hit. You boot him out of office. He's qualified to get your support for 3 terms, en route to 4, to run the state. But you don't want to run in the city. And you're going to hand the reins to a 33-year-old who's
also a communist.
Okay.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. I knew I was going to have Chris Carr here for this segment, but he had to hear this because I know he doesn't have time to do it. Attorney General Chris Carr, thank you for being with me today.
Martha, wonderful to be here.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. That's Stephen A. Smith, who is trying to be political, Yep. And it's so interesting because, he's saying the quiet part out loud. I don't like Andrew Cuomo either, but how did the people of New York elect this guy? And it's a mess up there right now.
He said what he was. He's going to be a socialist. He is a socialist. You have to take people at their word when they tell you what they're going to be about.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so anyway, we got this text message in when somebody heard I was going to have you on, and then we're going to get to the issues you want to talk about. But it said, I listen nearly daily and appreciate your insight, especially as to state government. I have heard you mention that you are supporting Chris Carr in the gubernatorial election. I offer a suggestion. His radio ads are perfect for a race for attorney general, but there's nothing that I've heard related to economic policy, education, jobs, or the plethora of other issues that we expect leadership from in a governor. He needs to address these. So I figured I'd ask you that question.
Great. Well, look, one thing government is supposed to do is keep people safe.
That's right.
And I don't care your race, your gender, your religion, your political party, where you live or where you're from, you're supposed to be safe. Secondly, I am so proud that I was asked by Governor Nathan Deal from right here in Hall County to serve as his Commissioner of Economic Development. And during my time there, helped the private sector create 84,000 jobs and $14 billion worth of investment. And before that, worked with Johnny Isaacson, who, of course, was a great businessman, was a realtor, spent time in Washington dealing with those issues. Because, Martha, if Congress isn't going to do the issue, isn't going to deal with the issues, isn't going to do anything, then it falls on the states. And you're going to need a governor that doesn't have to figure out what committee to call, what congressman to call, what senator to call, but has done those issues themselves as well.
And what I always say about you is that, you came out of the Johnny Isaacson School, so you know how to treat people. You worked in economic development, so you know how to bring business in, and you've done the law enforcement thing. So you've got, the full thing. But I can understand why somebody would say, all I know about him is his attorney general stuff. What does he think about other stuff?
And we'll keep
I can understand that.
We'll keep talking about the other issues as well, but that is one of the issues that we have a little moniker, make crime illegal again in Georgia, because we have DAs and we have some cities and counties where they don't see it the same way.
Well, I tell you, it's
and
funny.
There's an economic development issue to that.
It's true. Well, what is it? And then
Well, nobody's going to locate a business in a place they don't feel safe. You're not going to expand a customer base. You're not going to come to Gainesville or go to Atlanta for the World Cup or Savannah for the St. Patrick's Day parade if people don't feel safe. So there is an economic development piece with keeping people safe. So again, having that balance of economic development and attorney general, and again, we're still 50 days away. We got to get out there and remind people what we've done and who we are, and that's what we plan to do.
So obviously, Rick Jackson getting into this race is, kind of a game changer for a period of time. How has that changed? Because so much focus is on him. How has that changed how you've had to do things?
Not me. It's really impacted the lieutenant governor significantly. Look, I know Rick Jackson. I have great respect. I'm a capitalist.
And you've worked on a lot of foster care
and
issues.
Foster care. I respect him as a businessman. Now, I can disagree that I don't think he's the right candidate for governor. I think it's going to be very difficult because, Martha, here's what people that are Republicans have to recognize. 6 times in the last 6 years, Democrats have now won statewide. And who's not going to win in November of 2026? It's not the candidate that raises their hand and says, I got the most money and I got one endorsement. And the reason I can say that is we've done that in the last 6 years. And each time we've had a candidate that's done that, they've lost. And the reason is, if just take 2022, when 6% of the electorate voted for Raphael Warnock and came down one line and voted for Brian Kemp. Makes no intellectual sense till you look at that voter. They are a college-educated, generally speaking, woman and man living all over the state. They live here in Hall County. They live in Atlanta. They live in Savannah. They live in Columbus. It's not just an Atlanta thing. But they care about, it's generational, 30 to 60 years old, care about jobs, safety, education, affordability, don't want to talk about social issues the way the right or the left has, and candidate quality matters. That group is only going to grow. At best in Georgia today, we are 48-46 Republican. There's data that will show you the opposite. There's 48-46 Democrat. No matter what, the only way you're going to win an election in this state right now is to appeal to that persuadable voter. Nowhere in the list I just gave you was money or endorsements on either side. You could have a Democrat say, I've got Stacey Abrams' endorsement or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. Doesn't matter. That's not what the independent voter cares about. So that's my profile. And going back to what the caller said, economic development, safety, affordability, that's my profile as a candidate. And it's my job to get out there and get this message in front of as many people as I can.
You know, we've talked about your work as Attorney General against sex trafficking. And that is a very important issue to me because I look at that as being 21st century slavery. You know, we focus a lot of time and effort on talking about the sins of the past 150 years ago. And I believe as a country and as a culture, the Western culture, we are the first culture in the history of the world that outlawed slavery and spent resources, blood and treasure, to enforce those laws and try to change things, okay? And while we didn't do it perfectly, we had a lot of people that made mistakes. If you look at the history of Western culture, including the United States, we have been different than any other culture in the history of the world when it comes to slavery. And what hurts me so much about what I read about sex trafficking and labor trafficking and human trafficking is, to me, it's nothing more than 21st century slavery.
Spot on.
Are we making progress?
We are, because in this state, we've got a governor in Brian Kemp, a legislature that put resources into the state, our office, the Attorney General's office, having prosecutors, having investigators with the GBI and with local law enforcement. You have to be able to train. But we absolutely are making a difference. We've rescued and assisted now over 200 victims, 225 victims that are generally in Georgia, 14 to 17-year-old girls. Nationally, it's not just girls, but that's what we've seen in the state of Georgia. They're generally from here, not always, but it is, and they get these children who are bought and sold 5 and 10 times per day, brainwash them, convince them that they love them, that they're in it, but it's a commercial transaction. And then on top of it, to me, is this other issue of social media. So much of what happens with human trafficking is there is some sort of a social media website or an app that's involved in it. We just had a case out of Hart County where we convicted a guy that had connected with his victim on Snapchat. And so you've got this modern slavery with this modern technology that's influencing our kids. We can talk about suicide. We can talk about mental health. But there's no doubt that these criminals will use social media to say, today I'm going to be in Gainesville, tomorrow I'm going to be in Atlanta, the next day I'm going to be in Valdosta, to manipulate children and to engage in a commercial transaction. And I'm so proud of what we've done as a state.
So are we dealing with any of the people that, owed money to the coyotes that helped get them across the border in the last 5 years that kind of got lost, any of those kids that got lost in that system? Have we had to deal with any of those folks? Because they can never pay back the money, and so that's how they end up getting trafficked.
That's right, and in labor trafficking.
Yes.
You'll see that as well. We've put more resources to domestic child sex trafficking.
Okay.
We do have resources that we work with the GBI on labor trafficking, but that's it, Martha. I mean, they're basically running a tab for housing, for food. If you need health care, you're never going to get out from under it. And then the other thing is, we have a victim advocate because generally it's children. And what's so sad to see is oftentimes these survivors and these victims, they think that their seller loves them and they're going to get married and all this sort of. So we have to have somebody that can do that, work with them from a psychological standpoint. And it's just tragic.
So we're talking to AG and governor's candidate Chris Carr, and we have invited the rest of the governor's candidates in at the end of the week, and hopefully they will all accept that invitation. And we're looking forward to talking with Chris more about airspace sovereignty, which I think is a really important issue, and we'll also talk about the campaign. We'll be back.
In North Georgia,
it's the topics that matter to me.
We're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Get ready, Hall County. It's time for the Phildale Farms Chicken Sale benefiting United Way of Hall County. Choose from grilled fillets, tenders, strips, and more. But hurry, all orders must be placed by 4 p.m. on Friday, April 10th. Stock up on premium Phildale chicken at unbeatable prices while supporting programs that help families in our community. Call 770-536-3858 to place your order, cash only. That's 770-536-3858.
Why do I need a trust when I already have a will? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and I hear this question all the time. The quick answer is that your will is missing title and a trust is not. So a will takes you as far as a car without an engine. Come and sit down with me and I can show you how all of this works and how important it is to have a complete plan. But you have to take the first step. Log on to KevinTharp.com.
You wouldn't want someone you couldn't trust working on your family's HVAC and plumbing, so why would you call anyone but Gainesville Mechanical? They're your local, most trusted and award-winning HVAC and plumbing company in North Georgia. From maintenance appointments and clogged drains to plumbing emergencies and new system installations, their team is ready to serve you. And with their customer assurance maintenance plan, you can receive discounts, priority scheduling, and 24/7 no overtime rates. Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes since 1989.
Hi, this is Cal Cooley with Electronic Sales Company, and joining me today is Charlie Bramwell, Director of Interactive Neighborhood for Kids, better known as Inc. around here. When we help move your burglar alarm, fire alarm, cameras, and all the other things, I had no idea how impressive and big Inc. has become. Where's your new location?
We moved to Oakwood, the center of Oakwood.
Got anything special coming up?
Yes, sir. We have several new exhibits coming in within the next month or two. Department of Transportation is putting in some roads for us. We're talking to the FAA about bringing some monitors in so kids can actually see real-life flights. We have an extremely nice train exhibit. And yesterday, we was donated a train console from an actual train. We're going to refurbish it and put it next to the train exhibit so kids can actually be the train conductor and move levers and valves.
I am so excited. Everybody, you need to go down there to Inc. in Oakwood.
Your community partner in protection, Electronic Sales Company. See them today online at electronicsalesco.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, high fire danger warning for outdoors prompts Gainesville officials to suspend the issuance of burn permits. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That was Bill Clinton, okay? It's like there's some funny stuff. Everybody's like thinking about the 90s now, but it's like funny back and looking how Democrats talked in the 90s. It's really funny. It's really funny.
The Democrats of today are not Bill Clinton Democrats.
That's right. Chris Carr's here with me. He's the Attorney General. He's also running for governor. And we're talking about kind of a mixture of things. But this, since we started the war, or we started the war with Iran, responded after 47 years to the war with Iran.
Largest
that
state
they've
sponsor
had with
of
us.
terrorism.
Yeah, killed a lot of Americans in the last 47 years, was involved in the October 7th attacks, and most of their minions were involved in everything bad that's happened in the world in the last 50 years. People have thought about drones, I think, a lot more than they have ever before. I think they went from being kind of a cool thing that people go, oh, there's a drone, and now they're concerned about it. So tell us a little bit about this AG's letter to the task force on airspace, just why that's important to us.
Critically important, and I'm so glad the administration has taken this on. Obviously, in the last, 4 or 5 weeks, we've heard more about drones that are used for military purposes. We'd heard Amazon and Walmart want to use it to deliver. Those are their own separate issue. What we have seen in law enforcement now for the last several years are drones are being used to drop things into prisons that shouldn't be there. Cell phones, knives, drugs, just to name a few. Georgia Department of Corrections last year, 2025, had about 60 different drone incidents per month in the prisons. That's just the corrections. That's not that's not the county jails and others. And that's just the ones they know about. Of those 60, 500 different drone incidents over the year. 1,200 cell phones were confiscated just from those drone drops. We've got a problem in the country. One, cell phone, we've worked with the administration to jam cell phones because that's a huge contraband item that's being dropped in our prisons. Violent crime is being directed with those cell phones. Scams are being directed by those cell phones. I mean, we've had cases in Georgia of both, unfortunately. In South Georgia, a murder was directed from inside our prison system, killed the wrong person. It's just tragic. We've seen overdoses of drugs. It's horrific. So we're working with the Trump administration to be able to deal with those, jam those cell phones to allow the states to do it. Now we have an issue with drones. The FAA, there's a lot of gray area, but they say, look, we're going to regulate airplanes. We're going to regulate aerospace. But they've admitted there are some areas where states need to be involved in law enforcement, and corrections are one of them. Now, they won't say what you can or you can't do, but what we're saying as state AGs is work with us through this task force. Let us stop. There's no legitimate reason for a drone to be flying over a prison and dropping anything. It's illegal.
I love that
it's
you
a crime.
Said, no offense, that we know of, that you wouldn't know if a drone is dropping things into a prison or not. Are people asleep at the wheel? I don't know.
And if you have a cell phone, you can direct the drone.
Yes.
But if your cell phone doesn't work, you have less of a reason to drop that with your drone. Now,
Right.
there still could be drugs, there still could be knives and other things, but there's no legitimate reason for this. And unfortunately, we too often align ourselves with the criminal rather than common sense.
It's
and
so
that's
crazy
what this
too.
is.
I always say, if these people would use their smarts for good rather than evil, the world would be such a better place.
We
'Cause
would.
it's so crazy.
It is.
So let's shift back and talk a little bit about the campaign, just because, obviously the polling is not where you would like it to be. And I know the only poll that matters is on Election Day. So talk to folks about why they should vote for you, and then just what you think, what's your strategy and what you think about this polling that's come out.
Yeah, first of all, be careful of paying attention to polling. I have now found out there's going to be some great uses.
State polling is very difficult, too.
Particularly if you're 18 to 30 and you're only on a phone, and 30 to 60, you don't answer the phone if you don't see the name. I mean,
I know,
also, AI can now create polling firms that create polls that can manipulate it. So that all said, I don't know how you poll anymore. We know that we're, legitimately, in the mix with, our other opponents. But I remind everybody, Brian Kemp was in third place on May the 1st, 2018. He got in the runoff. We call him governor today. Nathan Deal was in third place a week before the primary in 2010 got in the runoff. We call him governor. And
Sonny Perdue won with 6 candidates with no runoff.
And everybody laughed against
said
Roy
it couldn't
Barnes.
happen.
So the bottom line is, going out there, who should be governor? Who has the record of dealing with the issues, like I said, economic development, public safety, affordability, who's got the record, who's got the understanding, and who can win? We know our job is now to get our name recognition back out. But look, I've raised more money than anyone has for an open seat in history. But we're talking about the 3 really rich guys that are trying to buy the election because they put in a bunch of money that they have. And good for them for doing that. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be the candidate that can win in November. Martha, this has to be about winning in November. Again, we've lost 6 times in the last 6 years to Democrats. And we've seen, unfortunately, we can have a Democratic senator and a Republican governor. I don't want it. We need to beat John Ossoff. We need to beat Raphael Warnock. But if we don't have a candidate that can win the governor's race, it's going to be extremely difficult to win down ballot.
I know you're only concerned about your race, but how important, I mean, you've been a political person before. How important is this Senate race that's going to be at the top of the ticket?
Hugely important.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about the Democrats today aren't like the Bill Clinton Democrats, who I didn't like back then, and I'm a Republican. But the point is, and this state's been built on agriculture, manufacturing, trade, military, hospitality. We have always had senators that recognized agriculture and military, the critically important issues that we have in this state. And we've got Warnock on agriculture, and nobody is on armed services. And with all due respect to Senator Warnock, but I don't. That just doesn't. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mix as far as who we've had. Saxby Chambliss, and we've had Richard Russell, and so many greats that have understood that this is the number one issue. Poultry had the importance not just to Georgia but globally. But to have senators that really don't understand the issues that are critically important to Georgia, you have to have a partner in the U.S. Senate when you're a governor. You have to have partners in the U.S. House, obviously. And having worked with Isaacson and Deal, both of them had experience there, and you could see they could pick up the phone and call somebody. But natural disasters, but we had tornadoes and hurricanes in South Georgia, generational devastation to the timber industry. Where were our senators?
Yeah, and I tell you, that's the thing that bugs me the most. And I've written about this a number of times. I got a new column on Substack where I talk about what's wrong with the Senate. And, 1913 was a really bad year for America because we got income tax and we got direct election of senators, which people go, oh, but isn't it great to elect them? Well, no, you can draw a straight line to the crazy money that's in politics to that decision. Before that, senators didn't need to raise money. They just need to win over the legislature.
Win the legislature.
And there's corruption in that, too. I remember Senator Perdue saying to me, well, if that happened, I'd never have been senator. I said, that may be true, but maybe you wouldn't have felt the need to run if we had been running a system where the senators cared about their state and only their state, not their caucus. It'd be a different place.
Well, and now we do, and we've got to be able to get out and we've got candidates that are working hard every day. I see them all, out on the campaign trail. I just think at the end of the day, our 2 senators don't represent the majority of Georgians. And like I said, whether you're just right of center or just left of center, we're not liberal. We are not liberal in this state. We are a more traditionally conservative state.
And so what is your website?
CarForGeorgia.com. We are on all Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and for those of you that are on TikTok, we're on TikTok too.
Oh, I did that for a couple of months, and I got the craziest stuff on there. It was crazy. Look, folks, I want you to be aware of the candidates, and we're going to take all these interviews and put them on a page on Access WDUN where you can go back and listen to them, and you can be a part of this. But, folks, get out and vote. There are more Democrats on the ballot in North Georgia than we have seen in a couple of generations. And we have got to make sure that we get out to vote. It is the Martha